Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Case, which is a podcast where global leaders from Harvard Business School's OPM community join in a personal capacity and they share the real lessons, life principles, and mental models which go behind building enduring companies. Today's guest is Zsolt Nagy. Zsolt was in OPM 67 with me. We did Unit 1 together. We've not interacted much during Unit 1, so this is a great opportunity for me to learn more about you as well, Zsolt. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you much for being patient to be able to schedule a suitable time.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself. What do you do? What's your business?
I'm a serial entrepreneur. We are in a number of industries. One of our largest businesses in agriculture in Slovakia, and we do normal production in crops and oils. So we got wheat, barley, corn, sunflower, poppy seeds, and we also have a dairy farm with a milk and cheese factory attached to it, and we do small milk and cheese products, and we also have a biogas, methane factory within the same premises, and we would like to expand a little bit further, although there's a little bit challenging times these days. But like Warren Buffett says, when there is blood on the street, that's when you buy. So that's our mode right now. Apart from that, I'm a co-founder and owner of one of the largest local Toyota and now newly a BYD car dealership as well. We operate and have a master license, and we have a chain of coffee shops. Then we invest in property, be it residential, commercial, logistic, or obviously agriculture, and also industrial. So those are some projects what we invest in, and we do some development. Now we invested into a number of other companies, be it in water management, events management. So those are more or private equity and venture capital arm, which we did on a small scale. Everything is family owned what we do, and we invest our own funds and we're doing our own strategy. We own also a small bottle and cigar shop, so we import some cigars and some rums and wine into Slovakia. Now, fun fact, I lived for about 20 years plus minus in Australia. Over there, I tried and set up a number of businesses. Right now, our largest holding is in student housing, shared accommodation, furnished property letting, Airbnb. Currently, we are in Sydney, but we'll be expanding to other cities as COVID take a quite big hit on us. So we barely survived. So that's a big lesson there, that you be really prepared for uncertain times. And we also invest into the stock market on a small scale. So we got a quite a range of portfolio. So that's why I said I'm serial entrepreneur, and juggling a lot of balls in the air, which is sometimes is really good that you're standing on many legs. On the other hand, you gotta get focused.
Talk to me about the origins of the business.
Okay, that the agriculture was originally founded in 1950, so it was 7 years old this year, and it was a classical agriculture co-op. And my dad became the president very young, 6 months after he finished university in the 60s, and until his passing 5 years ago, he was the president, and then I became the president of the company. And after 89, when there was a revolution and we became a so-called capitalist country, then we started to buy up the shares, we started to buy land. We still up today, pretty much every day buying some sort of land. That's why we got a big holding of land, which some we can turn into development. And then we started to buy up the neighbors, other businesses, and that's how we grew. Basically doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and it's how we grew basically the production company. And then one thing led to another. I always wanted to kind of stand on my own legs, so try something on my own. And that was my journey to Australia, where initially I went to study English. Then I worked all sorts of jobs, from cleaning to washing to knocking on doors to assembling hospital beds, you name it, pretty much I've done it. And I started to basically set up various businesses, even try network marketing, then direct sales, set up the student agency, which we turned into later on, because the student agency eventually was started with my business partner. They were buying to, then I actually bought them out later on. Then I sold the European arm, kept the Australian one, which we turned into an accommodation business. Opportunity came to invest into a car dealership, and boys with their toys, cars always exciting. Toyota sounded like a solid brand, and not knowing what the hell are we getting ourselves into. We just believed in the brand and in the dealerships. We built we won the tender. Actually, we had to won the tender for the license, and then we built one of the largest Toyota car dealerships in Czech and Slovak Republic. And lately we expanded into BYD as we were looking at what other brands we could attach to it. And then coffee shops. So that's another story. I wasn't a coffee drinker. I became one in Australia. My wife made me one. And you got to know that in Australia, everywhere they make you fantastic coffee. Now, coming to other countries, US is a disaster with coffees. In Europe, that was also a disaster that time. So I had a hard time to go to a coffee shop and have a proper coffee. So they called it coffee, but it was really like a coffee water with some fluff on the top. Let's put it that way if you're talking about cappuccino. So in one of our investments, it's a smaller building where we live. We kicked out the casino, who rented the almost the whole building, 90% of it. And we said, okay, in one of the shops, we're going to do a coffee shop. So at least there's one proper coffee shop. And then I found this concept, this franchise. Then I talked to the guys, and we ended up actually doing a licensing agreement for Slovakia. And then COVID hit. So all the market research for a chain of coffee shop, what I did before COVID was absolutely not workable now after COVID, which I believe that eventually the market will return to its origin. But anyway, during COVID, we set up first coffee shop, then second coffee shop, and then 2 years ago, the third one, fourth one, fifth one. So we got 5 coffee shops. From one is a sub franchise, 4 we operating, and it is a tough work. And these days, and we're considering changing strategy because it's in the current climate, it's not really working as we expected it. So there's a lesson in it, but unfortunately, if you wouldn't try it, you wouldn't know. Despite doing all the planning and the market research, is just not what it was before. Anyways, as I said, one thing led to another. Energy sector, German company approached us that they would like to do some wind energy here, and we own the land. So cut the long story short, after 10 years of going back and forward, we agreed that we're going to do it 50-50. So that project is yet to come to a fruition. And then when we had that student agency, many of our clients been complaining that the accommodation is far away, it's not kept in good condition, it's not clean, maintenance is not done, too many people going back and forward. So we decided, okay, let's put up 1 or 2, 3 apartments. So extra income for us, clients will be happy, win-win. Suddenly it turned to be that actually we pretty much closed down the student agency and we started to do the apartments. So before COVID, we've been one of the largest shared accommodation providers in Sydney, Australia. Now we are basically back on our feet. We're not at our original size, but getting there relatively fast, but we're a lot more profitable than before. Because I had actually developed the full strategy where we going to optimize the business. And then COVID came, so I could throw out the whole plan because there was pretty much crisis situation and we had to do an emergency plan. And we fell about 7. But I wanted to do a turnaround about 30% of the portfolio where I wanted to optimize. Now we had to do a hard reset with 75%. And I think it was a good thing for us. So in that sense, good thing for us, good in long term for accommodation business. And now we're going to build a platform and so forth. So we got big plans to further develop the strategy. And cars, it became also a tougher business, and a lot of Chinese players entering the market, and the current dealerships and the current brands need to take them into account and need to adjust their strategy. And because we got the licensing rights, so we have to go with the flow, although to a certain extent they do listen to our feedback. But sometimes I'm the only one waving my hand that this strategy doesn't work under this climate. because many of the car dealership owners, that's their main business. And because for me, it's one of the many businesses, I've got a broader view and I can compare it to my other businesses. How does it work? How are the margins? What are the strategies and the developments? So I've got a bit of a broader view, so I can comment on the economics and the money part on that as well. I'm just thinking what else is in our portfolio I could comment on, but as I said, I'm second generation in the agriculture business. The rest is basically all my doing, establishing partnerships on our own, etc. And there were a lot of learnings along the way. So some of the businesses we shut down. Not everything is successful what you're touching. If someone says that, then either he's lucky or he's camouflaging, let's put it that way. But I had to learn the hard way or on my own way. But they say that smart people learn from their own mistakes, but geniuses learn actually from other people's mistakes, so they don't even get there. So my main lesson, I would say, as my mentor used to say, that only do on other businesses when your first business is up and running, it can be basically working without you. So if you pick up the phone and call the office, say, hey guys, I'm off for a year, and you come back after a year, and you call the office, if they don't know who they're talking to, then we got a problem, not a business. If they do know who they're talking to, and maybe your business even grew while you were not here, that's when you got a business. And that's when you've got the clowns at the circus, and they put up the first plate and start to spin it, and they put up another plate, start to spin it, then they're spinning 2 plates, then 3 plates and 4 plates. And if you put up all at once, they probably will fall down. And the same with the businesses. So I've done a mistake where you get a shiny penny syndrome and start to juggle many businesses when you've been in your 20s. Yeah, sure, I'll just do a time management. I can run like 4 or 5 businesses at the same time. No, unfortunately, it doesn't work. So maybe these days with AI, it could be different. But my biggest lesson is do one thing, do it right, grow it when it can stand on their own feet and people can run it for you. That's when you move into other businesses. And the fourth quarter is where I am kind of halfway already in it, where you start to invest into other people's businesses. They come up with the ideas, they set up the systems, they're running it, you just an investor.
Wonderful. Very thorough response. I want to go back to your father being the first generation entrepreneur. He started the agriculture business. What were the kind
Yes.
of conversations that he would have at home which inspired you to not consider taking a job, to think about, walking on fire yourself? Because doesn't matter if you have a successful business which you're inheriting, but you also started a lot of different businesses by yourself. There's challenges at every level, and the nature of the
Yes.
challenge may differ. So could you talk a little about the quality of conversations he was having at home with you, which inspired you to consider being a leader yourself, to be an innovator in some ways, and then also maybe reflect on some of the challenges he went through and he had to overcome, which inspired you to think about problem solving and not be overwhelmed by any challenges that one might come across?
Okay, very, very great question. My dad was probably my largest inspiration, and always said that he's my mentor, he's my business partner, and he's my friend and my advisor all in one. So I miss him dearly. And I always even turn back here, like he would be standing here and ask him, is that okay like this? When he started, he was a really hardworking man, didn't care about flashy stuff. And he inspired me, but he was very supportive. Actually, he wanted me to be a teacher. So I asked him later on, "You wanted me to be a teacher, and we've got all these businesses. Like, how you're supposed to run it if I would be a teacher?" I said, "Yeah, but that could be like the backup for you, in the sense, if we wouldn't do the business, you got a short job, and you got holidays next to it, and you would be running the businesses and slowly transition into it." Obviously, that was the early days when the communism failed here and we changed. Obviously, that was different strategy. But as we started to do more business, even that changed. Obviously, he wanted me to become the part of the business. But I was living in Australia, and it a little bit was a question more in everybody else's head than in my head. If I'll ever come back. which I always intended to, because to me, family is really important. But on the hand, you've got your own demons and your own ego, where my dream was to go to a foreign country where I didn't speak the language, didn't know anybody, and make it on my own, which I can say that I did. But there was a lot of challenges when I've been sitting above a spreadsheet, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I said, we got this much to pay, but we got only this much to invest. Okay. How are we going to figure this out? And they've been my biggest lessons. Instead of calling up dad, hey, can you send me some more money? I wanted to figure it out on my own, because to call the dad or someone, everybody can do. But to figure it out, the biggest lesson, that's where I learned the most. So my dad was really focused, as I said, hardworking, always economics, numbers. He was a numbers guy, and he was example for everybody. He didn't mind to roll his sleeves out and show someone how things need to get done. And even when newspapers called us for some interviews, which I normally refuse, I don't even do many postcard or podcasts either. And they asked that, are we successful because we operate next to a river? So I was smiling as I said, no, we are effective. Number one thing, that we straight away started to buy land and acquire land, and we started to put them together, because there's a lot of small lands. But to be effective, the more they are together, the more effective you can be. And obviously, we constantly watching the money to turn it back into the business. So we never had it first place that, okay, we got some money, let's buy a car. No, where I can reinvest it so it works for us. So I said, where can I reinvest the money when it works for us? So my dad was always reinvesting. I remember he had a Toyota Carina with 650 something thousand kilometers on it, and didn't even have to share it. It's really good, until someone crashed into him and he had to buy a new car, which was another Toyota. And then he was again hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Although he had BMW later on, but that was more like representative. But he really didn't care. He was still using the Toyota. So, and that comes down to he was a real example when you say that wealthy people buy luxury things last. So he was a living example of that. And we still live by that today. So we always look at it where we can invest first, and then we're looking at some luxury, although we're not really into, I need to have a flashy this, flashy that, more like down to earth. And he taught us, and we live that we stay the same. We not going around and showing what we built or what we've got, more like down to earth, even stay rather in the background so we're not visible. So I intend to stay humble. I don't want and focus on work. Like Steve Jobs said, put a dent into the universe when we can all look back and look, I built this, I built that. I contributed this, I gave work for this many people, created an environment where everybody happy, which is a pretty tough job, and I'm constantly working on it. So there was a lot of lessons. There was also arguments between us, but good, healthy arguments, because he was always the older one, the dad, the boss, with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of experience, and I was the young gun with overseas experience, which he didn't have again. So it was a kind of a good combination, and we always used to brainstorm with each other. And if there was a decision to be made and we couldn't come to agreement, I couldn't convince him that my way of the choice would be the best, or he couldn't convince me. I said, then I respect, you're the dad, you're the boss, you're the more experienced. I said, I respect your decision. So that's how we've been working together, and we travel together, because it's agro is divided between me and my brother, in the sense that he's managing the production and I manage the rest. I manage the office, the acquisitions, the lawyers, mergers and acquisitions, buying of the land, and then we intertwine basically. We do the trading together, but now it's becoming a position on its own, although I enjoy dealing with the partners. But the agriculture became so fast moving that when before it was every couple of months you sit down, you sign some contracts, you sold, you bought something. Now, pretty much on daily basis, they give you a quotation in the morning, it's valid till 3:30 in the afternoon. So you need to make a decision. You really need to be on the top of it. But I believe AI will really change these spells in the next 5 to 10 years. There'll be amazing changes in agriculture and in every other industry. But I think in agriculture, it will be really revolving.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions on what you've said right now. Number one is agriculture is a long game. So your decisions have to be long term. Could you talk a little bit about how that prepared you for the other different businesses that you got involved in later on in life, and how you think credit goes to the first business being agriculture, where long-term decisions had a lot of merit as opposed to short-term thinking.
Yeah, we also got actually a construction company, and why it came to my mind because after 89, everybody in Slovakia started to do number of businesses. So even then we had a construction company, a bakery, a meat factory, import-export company, and so on. So to answer your question, agriculture, yes, it's a long game, and it's a very current question because I started to say before that it was more relaxed, so to say. I always used to say that we've been in a lucky industry where we produce or commodities, they're knocking on our door that sell it to me, let me buy it, let me trade it, and so forth. And that changed. Specifically with the Ukraine war, people stopped knocking. So you actually had to go out and knock on their doors, which not everybody opened up. Now it's a little bit normalized, so to say, but it's a whole different game now. As I said, it really speed up, and you can't look that long term like you looked before. Before that, we looked like 10, 20 years. Now I look like three years ahead because I really don't know what's going on. So there's a bit of a chaos in the world right now, quite a bit of uncertainty, So before that, we make a decision and thought about it twice. Now I need to think about it 5 times at least. And then I also compare it to the other industries and other opportunities. I've got a lot of investment and a lot of deal possibilities coming through my desk. So I always compare it now. Okay, where does my dollar turn fastest? So still our focus is number one, agriculture, but then all the other investments what we've got. And that's why we're standing on more legs. There's still we need to eat. There's interest in the agro products, in the commodities, in the milk products, and so forth. And I believe still that the land is a great investment because multiple times we earn back our money by the value of the land growing. But you can't get multiples like what you get with online businesses or with AI and so forth. It's stable, it's got a lot of assets and so forth. But these days, it's not how much money we've got, but how much can you borrow, which we've been taught that you use your own money. So we've been always using our own money and investing our families. Only just 2 years ago was the first one our advisor said, but you guys can take some, acquisition loans and so forth. So we started to leverage a little bit so that we still feel comfortable. And agriculture, again, you need to think now really, really hard and do your numbers. Right now, I've got 5 or 6 companies on my desk, possibility to acquire. So dealing with them, but we calculating, rethinking, reimagining, it's not like before, okay, let's buy this, let's buy that. Even with the land, before that, I pretty much used to buy anything came across my table, we made a deal, we bought it. Now I think at least 3 times, and I'm not buying everything. So more strategically, also we're a lot bigger now. I don't feel I need to buy everything. It's more like about the quality and the strategic positioning. Or to me, is the closer to a central is the better. So I know I can use it. If not today, then tomorrow, if it's still under contract with someone else. I'm not sure. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, it does. And you also touched on taking quicker decisions today, right? In the past, you said you take a few decisions on the agriculture side, it would be good for a few months. Today, you get a contract, you have to revert by 3:30 p.m., I believe is what you said. So how do you make decisions under pressure? Could you walk us through your mindset in such situations?
Okay, as they say, garbage in, garbage out. So it's about the quality of your information and your data. So that's why we need to be now daily up to date, not weekly or monthly up to date. So I'll look into a lot of industry news, but also even then, there's a lot of, how would I put it, collective camouflage going on. And people coming to, yeah, storages are full, we're not really buying. And then a week later, I say, hey, I need 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 tons of this and that. And I said, well, didn't you say you guys are full and not buying? Oh, well, but I need, I know they are not full. They know we know it. We're still playing this game. I'm like, seriously? So that's where you need to be able to read the market locally and globally, and then try to again revert the global one to your local decision making. That what is the market here really? So in these days, it's becoming a little bit more like a game, and who is more up to date with the information than with us, because we've got storage capacity and we got funds to hold the commodities. We're not forced to sell like any of the people who don't have the storage capacity, or they're in need to convert their commodities into the cash because they need the cash flow into their business. So we can monitor the market, and whenever we believe that is right time to sell, then we're selling then. But you need to be up to date. And also it is truly becoming a guess game, like I'm putting on a lottery. So yeah, it's very hard to predict the market. All the fundamentals are showing, even currently, that, for example, wheat prices should be higher, and they are not.
You're,
It's hard predictions. So it's becoming like a lottery or a stock market game.
you also spoke about, your company or your businesses not having taken much debt, all
Yes.
being family owned, typically cash. What has been your mindset with debt? Why has there been a hesitation? Could you talk a little bit about the thinking there?
Yeah. I believe when you got debt, then you're not fully your own boss. And when crisis or risky situation would come along, you are more exposed. While if you don't have debt, you're standing on your own leg. On the other hand, if you want to expand, then you're limited with your own funds. So if you take on some acquisition debt, then you got broader possibilities what you can grab. So the question is, can I invest my money better, or can I borrow better so I can expand more and then turn my capital into higher returns? Because then I would just use my fraction of the cost. Rest is finance. The obviously that fraction, basic economics, that turns into double, triple. Instead of using the whole 100% for own funds, then it would be only just 10, 20, 30% return on it.
Another point I wanted to touch on is you mentioned you have a Toyota dealership, probably the
Yes.
largest, right, in your country.
Size wise, not turnover wise, because we're not in the capital city.
Okay. How did you feel when we were doing the Toyota case at Unit 1?
That was a little bit different because that was about manufacturing,
Okay.
right? But it was good to see a bit of an insight from the other side, because funnily enough, I always question many times they can't tell us when the car is going to come. There were some cars we've been waiting for 2 years, and they couldn't tell us when it's going to arrive. So it happened even to my brother-in-law. We ordered a car for him, supposed to be 1 year, then it turned out to be 2 year, and after they said, we're not going to make it anymore. So I got upset directly. What is this? I mean, like these days with the modern technology, from my perspective or point of view, you should be able to tell me pretty much down the minute when the car is arriving. But I said, I take it that there could be delay. I don't know, there was flood in Africa, so flooded the Toyota factory. Like there could be cases like this. But you tell me that in 1 year becomes 2 year and the car doesn't arrive, but eventually we worked it out. So we managed to get a car for him. But it was interesting. So see it from the other side, basically how they are doing things, how they're developing the processes and so forth. Obviously, Toyota is the largest car maker. So the larger they are, the slower technically you should be moving, or the more modernized you should be. So it was an interesting case when we see it from the other side.
What led you to OPM? How do you consider that program?
Okay. Uh, I've got multiple university degrees, one from Slovakia, from the Slovak Agriculture University. I did economics, and from the Sydney University, I've got another master's degree. And I was always curious, and I always wanted to expand my know-how and learn about new things and add to my current skills and know-how. And I believe you should be constantly learning. So even after I finished the university in Australia, I became a seminar junkie. I was going to all sorts of seminars. I was networking, learning. So mainly stock market, properties, sales, mindset, self-development. I was everywhere, collected a lot of know-how, get to know a lot of people. And even today, I believe that you should have a coach. I've got actually 4 business coaches. You should educate yourself and stay up to date with information. And also enrolled in the London Business School, which I just returned from, and embrace the change, which is specifically for YPOers, the Young Presidents Organization, which I'm also a part of. And we got access to amazing education from all the leading universities. And then as I was researching which are the best business related programs for us CEOs, I always said I need CEO coaching and I need CEO education. And everybody was talking about OPM, the flagship of Harvard. This is the best of the best. So I was postponing it for years. And in my forum at YPO, I had one of the discussions led to asking me the question, okay, guys, when do you think would be a right time for me to do OPM? Because I'm not doing this, I'm doing that, but I'm busy with all the businesses, la da 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 da. And then the guy just looked at and they said, you just answered your own question. I said, okay, I got the message to do it ASAP. So that's why I signed up last year and got into the class. And I said, okay, let's just do it. And we learned a lot, we networked a lot, we had a great time there, and we got a whole year to apply all the knowledge what we received there and put it in action. So to come back, obviously with different, we will be different people with all the different businesses when we come back to Unit 2.
Thank you. Could you talk about some of the biggest takeaways from Unit 1 for you?
I would have to look through my notes. Maybe many things within processes which I intend to change in the business, in my businesses. Also, people culture. So always been oriented to people culture. Always say that I don't have employees, I've got team members. So, and I would like to develop a culture, where everybody feels like home. So funny enough, we had a really good presentation, even one of the closing keynotes at the London Business School, and it brought back me what we learned at OPM as well as everything is kind of connecting. Then branding, there are a lot of lessons from branding, which I'm going to apply. How to position the brand, how to get your people involved, to be part of the brand, how to be your advocates. Then enforcing certain new policies and ways of doing business in my businesses. So remember, I've got a applause when I said it. Everybody started to use my saying that the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. So that's what I live by. I constantly want to improve myself, but also improve our team members and improve our businesses. Easier said than done. That is day-to-day application. Be a little bit better, but apply this, we try this, because not everything will work what we learn there in all of the businesses. Some will come through, some will can apply, some won't be applicable, some won't be possible to make it work within your businesses. So a lot of trial and error, but I like to learn from all people's know-how, and as I said, genius is learn from other people's mistakes. So also learn from other people's mistakes. So also finance, we went through a lot of finance mistakes there as well, how people grow and what mistakes they've done on the way, from fraud to accounting to everything. And again, reminded me that, we need to be a lot more secured, a lot more asking questions, not to take things for granted, or as they say, believe but double check and control. In one sentence, inspect what you expect. And sometimes I just flow and I trust my people, but inspect what you expect. That would be one of my biggest lessons, which I learned from the school and from my own mistakes, unfortunately.
Thank you for sharing that. Could you talk about a book which might have influenced the way you think?
Yeah, there are a number of books. One of them is Rich Dad Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki. So the principle itself, it resonated with me. Then I would say another book is Born Rich by Bob Proctor. Then Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So those are the top three books which I would recommend someone to start with. And then obviously there's a bunch of others which I read. I've got a massive library, which I probably read about 20-30%. And there's a lot more to read, but either listen to the podcast or done the program or speed read them. So for that is, even for me, there's a lot more to read. And every day I'm getting some recommendations. It's just impossible for me to read all those books. So I use even AI now. Hey, check this book, give me a summary. How can I apply what to my business and so forth. And also the Millionaire Next Door. What else would I highlight quickly? Then there are specifics with trading. You know, when I was learning about the stock market, you know, how to invest and being a intraday trader or a trader or an investor. So those kind of mindsets and which one are you, how to apply. Then really good book is Richest Man in Babylon. So that's a really good book as well, even for the kids. And also there's a book I can't quickly remember. It will come to my mind. Also with the Think and Grow Rich, but it's the kids version. So that's really good even for the kids. I recommend them to read it.
Thank you. The last question is, if you could meet your younger version and give him some advice today, after everything that you've been in your life through, what would be some key pointers you'd share with your younger version?
Okay, be more focused, number one. Number two, don't be afraid and don't be egoistic and to ask for help. So you don't need to do it on your own. So asking for help is extra strength, not the weakness. Because before that, I thought, no, you need to get it done. You need to get it on your own. You need to prove it. Actually, now I don't think so. I turned that around and I believe that asking for help is extra strength. Just still battling with, to be honest. But I'm better asking for help now than I was when I was younger.
Thank you very much. A lot of takeaways from this conversation, and I think you have shared with us within 45 minutes all the wisdom that you've aggregated over the last couple of decades. So very grateful to you for that, and thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank
Yeah,
you.
man. See you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.